Hi, my name is Miriam Yintumi and I'm a member of the Professional Services and Support Staff team at the Institute of Health and Wellbeing at the University of Glasgow. To mark Carers Week, we're talking to Peter Aitchison, the Director of Communications and Public Affairs at the University, about being a carer during lockdown. Peter has caring responsibilities for his adult son David, who has multiple disabilities. So Peter, what would you like people to understand most about what it means to be a carer during lockdown?
I think whatever caring responsibilities you have are multiplied, have been multiplied many times over during lockdown, during the COVID pandemic. I think we as a family are extremely lucky. We've got a decent sized house, we've got a garden, but we're also shielding because my adult son has multiple disabilities. It's really important that we keep him safe. And that means that we've been unable really to get out of the house and the garden for almost 3 months now. It's quite difficult explaining that to David, and it's very difficult not being able to take him out in his wheelchair. Yes, we can get him into the garden, but we can't get him out into the wheelchair. And I think other carers will be experiencing the same or similar problems and difficulties. And over and above that is the obvious strain, worry, stress, concern. What happens if the person that I'm caring for does get sick with COVID? What do we do then? And then over and above that, what happens if I or my wife, as the carers for my son, what happens if we get sick? Now, I think we are relatively healthy, we'll probably be okay. But the real concern is what happens if we then infect David? And that really has been a strain and a stress. But overall, it's been difficult, it's been challenging. But if you have the support of the networks that we have, and that's both at work, because the University of Glasgow is incredibly supportive to colleagues, or certainly in my case it has been. And also we're fortunate in living in a small village, and we've got a network of people who come and drop us off bread and milk and cheese and eggs and the occasional bottle of wine. Then it's made things a bit easier. But yeah, it has been the most difficult and challenging period I think that we've faced in a long, long time. And I think other carers would be exactly in the same position.
So on that note, what do you think that people that maybe haven't experienced having caring responsibilities before, what do you think they might not understand about caring, both during this time and in periods of normality?
Well, I think the first thing to say is most carers cope. Often they cope silently, they cope invisibly, and that's actually why the university policy that was announced, the carers policy that was announced in January 2020, for me anyway as an individual, was very significant, because it was almost as though my employer was giving me permission to talk about being a carer or to socialise what it means in terms of the background and the hinterland of my life, and not looking for sympathy, but maybe looking for a bit of understanding. And I think at the moment, carers, whether they're working or they're furloughed, whether they're at home or they're back in employment, have those additional concerns and worries on top of the worries that all of us are experiencing in this uniquely, unusually stressful time. So I think just for people who don't know carers or who are not carers themselves, just to have that bit of understanding, so that maybe if somebody like me turns up in a Zoom meeting and I'm looking a little bit more tired than usual, I'm not as smiley as I normally am, maybe there are other things that are going on as well. But we all have had to deal with different pressures and stresses during this period.
So just following on from that, how can people at work support you, not just informally with understanding, but in a more formal way?
Well, I think first and foremost, carers probably don't want to be defined as being carers. They just want to be like anybody else. But it is very important that people have an understanding, and that's why the policy that was announced by the university in January 2020 was very significant, because I think it encourages that dialogue between line managers and individuals about what their family situation is like, what their personal situation is like, and how that feeds in to the workplace. I think also it's almost encouraging other people to ask questions. Certainly and again, going back, we're never looking for sympathy, but maybe dialogue and understanding and discussion. And I've got the impression sometimes that people have been a little bit shy about asking. Maybe they're a bit embarrassed, maybe they don't know whether they feel they're invading my personal space. And for some carers, that will be the case. But I think for a lot of carers, they're actually quite pleased to talk about what's going on in my life, how my son is, not only the challenges, but the successes, some of the things that have happened. So I think informally, talk to us, understand us, and recognise that we're not carers first and foremost. We're individuals, we're human beings. We're hardworking individuals, the same as anybody else at this time. more formally for the university in the line management process and in the HR process, just encouraging that dialogue, taking account of, as many line managers do at the University of Glasgow, the need for a little bit of flexibility, which in my experience gets paid back many times over from the loyalty and appreciation that people in my situation have. But I think the University of Glasgow has made a fantastic start with the carers policy, not only a policy, but a living document that has led to the kind of conversations I've been discussing, and certainly in my case has made things much easier, even at this difficult time.
And just lastly, do you have any message or words of encouragement for fellow carers at this time, whether they're coping or perhaps not coping as well as they might like?
It's a difficult time. It's really challenging for all of us, whether you're a carer, whether you're not a carer. If you have those additional stresses and responsibilities, please talk to people. People will be understanding. Your line manager at work will be understanding. Your HR colleague will be understanding. Your fellow co-workers will be understanding. There is no weakness in reaching out for a little bit of help, or even just for a conversation. Recognise that you're all doing a brilliant job day in, day out, 24/7. In terms of the pandemic, we will come through this. In terms of your caring responsibility, be aware that people want to help where they can and have that conversation.
Thanks, Peter, and thanks to everyone for watching. All that remains is to wish everyone a happy, safe and healthy Carers Week. Thank you.